And here we are at Lake Hylia, at the only marker that's activated by default. Which should be obvious considering A, this is a place where we need to go for the story, and the fact that it's not accessible otherwise. And speaking of not accessible, there was that pretty interesting looking ice area on the lake, but we can't actually go there. So maybe this Minish knows something about that. Well, he can put a name to that dungeon, but he himself doesn't know how to get over there. But he does know someone who can get over there, who's apparently in semi-retirement. I don't know how you can be in semi-retirement, either you're retired or not. But for some reason he knows that this area miles away at Hyrule Town is opening soon. I mean, he's right, Hyrule Town's library is opening up about now. But there's so much distance between here and there, and that's double for Minish. Double plus, really. You don't know what obstacles you'll encounter as a Minish, so I don't know how he actually gets over there. Especially since he's in an area you can't get to otherwise, so you kind of only move here once, really. But either way, since we need to go to the library, well, let's just go do that, since we did just get through quite a bit of the side, well, not really side quests, so much as side stuff. Lots of Kinstone Fusions, lots of item collecting, but all that's out of the way, so we can go right to the library. Oh dear. Well, apparently returns aren't going too well. She doesn't look too torn up about it, on the outside anyway. Inside, she's probably in horrible turmoil. You can never like your like. They're consistently garbage. All of them. And apparently that's, I guess, technically a sequel to something that happens in Wind Waker, though at this point, chronologically, it is way foreshadowing. Well, hopefully you return it, considering that other lady seems to be having problems with it. What about you, pal? Why did you scream at me? I don't think you're crazy, I think you're loud, pal. So that's Sturgeon. If I remember correctly, he's the dude hanging up on Master Orca's house, you know, the dude who tells you how to use the sword in Wind Waker. I believe it's the same character, if I'm remembering the character design right. I believe in that game it's also a big-headed dude, and he tells you how to look at stuff. So, we need to get to the Elder or whatever, but how inconvenient. The exact books we need to actually climb up to Elder Library, they've all been taken out. Yes, the exact 3 books we needed to actually go to the next destination, yeah, all of them are missing. Well, that's just great. And yeah, I doubt we'll be making ladders out of any other books anytime soon, so looks like we've got some filler going on. Hoo boy. Yeah, I'm not really the biggest fan of this part of the game. I mean, it's not the worst filler, but it's not really the best. I've definitely seen better filler even within the Zelda series itself. Heck, even Skyward Sword, I actually kind of liked the filler in that game. I know nobody else does, but I do. Here, though, we have to collect books, which will get us a few important items along the way, but for the most part, it's definitely a change from having to climb a mountain or cross a dangerous swamp. Now we just have to go all over the place to look for books in order to access the next dungeon. So, let's just get started right on that. First one's easy enough. There's a girl with a cat that we have to find. And we know who that is, right? I mean, I'm sure there's more than one girl with a cat, but there is a specific character. Oh yeah, and also, I promised I'd show this, but woo, look at him go. So yeah, that's what happens if you walk in front of the mailman and just stand there for a while. And there's the book we need that just appeared out of nowhere. Yeah, I kinda noticed, Ezlo. That is a good question, though. Are you sure about that? I don't know. Well, apparently that girl's next door, so why don't we ask her to get it? After all, it is her fault that it's overdue, and she's probably gonna have to pay a fee, so... Yeah, you go get it. No, I'm not a librarian, I'm just a library mercenary. They didn't even really hire me necessarily. Not monetarily, anyway. But I'm here to collect the library books. I guess I'm not a very good library mercenary, though. Just talked to her and she was like, oh, you go get it. And I'm like, okay. So, as Ezlo said, if we try to use the Pegasus boots, can't push this, can't ram it, it won't fall down. And this one is pretty easy, though, because we've already unlocked the way to get over there. If you'll remember, we did splash some water on that fireplace, allowing us to go all the way up here. And you might have noticed that ladder that's over there. So we don't have a ladder when we're normal-sized, but we can just go up here and push this book down somehow. You'd think this big old book would be too heavy to push, but nope, Dorlon can do it, no problem. And excuse me, I don't want to be attacked by a cat right now. Thank you kindly. Hey. Well, that's just great. Yeah, I had to turn into a tiny person just to get this library book. And trust me, this is the easiest book to get. Alright, so that's 1 out of 3. Not bad, we're making some decent time. Let's go turn that in, because, well, we kinda need to know where the next one is. Actually, speaking of books, before we go back, we got a little time, so why don't we read the Swordsman Newsletter? After all, it's right here, and I want to read it. So let's see what we've got in this issue. Oh, don't you know it, Swiftblade. Yeah, generally stabbing does do a pretty good job, but he actually does give you good shortcuts. You can use the Gust Jar and Cane of Pocky to actually fight those guys. I'd probably suggest Cane of Pocky just because it's a lot faster to use than the Gust Jar, but that's just me. And he's also got some pretty helpful advice here, which I could have employed when I was actually in the second dungeon, but I didn't. I mean, not this one, not the shooting them with arrows thing, but Gust Jar's effective. Oldest as long as you don't count the dead guy in my family. So now we know how many Swiftblade brothers there are, but we only need 7 Tiger Scrolls to speak with Swiftblade the First, and he did say you needed all 7 Tiger Scrolls, so maybe that means not all of the Swiftblade brothers have Tiger Scrolls. Just gonna mention that. We're not gonna run into them for a while though, at least a little while longer. Wow, I feel so sorry for this girl. Seriously, she seems genuinely happy that we've returned this book. She must get yelled at like every day just because 3 books from the library are missing. Maybe even exactly 3. I mean, she only wants us to find 3, so I hope that's all there is. Excuse me, dog. Get out of the way. That's great. Go away, Growler. Thank you. Can you deal with that, postman? Thank you. Jeez. So now we can actually enter this guy's house. I knew this day would come, and when we enter he's got a gun and he shoots us. So this is actually Dr. Left, who's kind of a double reference. First off, there's a character named Dr. Wright, spelled like Phoenix Wright, in SimCity for the SNES. There's also a character in Link's Awakening and Oracle of Seasons named Dr. Wright, as in writing a letter, who is a reference to him. So Dr. Left is a reference to a reference, basically. Also, while we're on the topic, I'd just like to mention that artwork of Mr. Wright from Link's Awakening kinda looks like something drawn by Hirohiko Araki. Seriously, I swear he looks like he's almost out of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. it's a pretty similar art style. I might link that or show that in the video or something, I don't know. But anyway, let's see about going to get that book, because it's nowhere around here. I mean, it's not like we can check the shelves or anything. Allows people to push big things, you say? Well, that's actually something we need, because if we go back out here, we can't really check out much, but there are some shelves that need pushing, so maybe the book's behind there. So we're gonna go off and journey to find that item. Don't worry, I'll be a-okay. Gotta take on some fearsome beasts. AKA cats. Yes, cats. I do kind of like that little Hyrule legend, or Minish legend, or whatever it is, rather. Because it just makes everything sound so grand, which, technically speaking, it is, since we're tiny. But yeah, these fearsome beasts are cats who will try to swipe at you as you go by. To be fair, they're also adorable, to be completely fair, but... Anyway, here we have a very, very small dungeon. Like, it's itty-bitty. I mean, that should be obvious considering we're a Minish, but, I mean, this is a super short dungeon, so not much to worry about here. In fact, it's just a few short puzzles. No puzzle over here, of course. Oh yeah, and I'd also just like to point out, yeah, we can kill those slugs in one hit now. Because before, we could only kill them in one hit when they were on their belly, so that's a pretty good improvement over our first sword, wouldn't you say? Right, so I guess I can't get that fairy. It's just gonna float on in the wall. Curse you, fairy, you've escaped my wrath. I mean, to be fair, it's not like I need 2 fairies, but, you know, would have been nice. Alright, that was easy enough, not like I can get hit by those spike traps. And oh boy, more of these blue guys. These guys are very easy by this point. They've acted as mini-bosses like, what, twice now? They're really not a problem. You can take them out like it was nothing. And could this be the item we seek? Indeed it is! The Power Bracelets. So, this will affect you even when you're big, but it's mostly for Minish Link. Now we can push big things around, which is going to be very helpful. Not quite as helpful as another ability we'll be getting within this episode, but nonetheless, it's pretty good. So with that, now we have to go back out through the land of the fearsome beasts, which, oh man, I've gotten hit 3 times, oh goodness. Doylon emerges bloodied up, but nonetheless alive. He's made it through. Cat scratches all over his body. Nonetheless, he is determined. He now has the power bracelets and can make it through. Yes, the Den of Evil. Cats, the most evil beasts in Hyrule. We were very nearly killed in there, but we were able to survive. So, you might have noticed earlier, but there was actually a little mushroom house. Well, don't worry, when this house is built over it, that Minish does stay. Now he's just got a much nicer house to stay in, actually. I've never talked to you before, but yeah, same Minish. And he gets a nice little house, so really it's win-win for everyone. Even me, because I can actually fuse with this guy for once. Of course, that is the final green Kinstone piece I have, so can't fuse with anyone else, because I'm sure we'll find a million people who can fuse green Kinstones. In fact, we already did. There was that one Minish in the library, so... Oh boy, lovely. We've already gotten stuff we can't do, and... Yep, he's got a second infusion, but we can't do that one, because why'd we be able to do that one? That would just be great or something. Would be nice if there were more blue or red Kinstone Fusions, but no, there aren't. Alright, well, let's just push this shelf over, and now, finally we can resume our quest for this book that we've been looking for. Yeah, we had to go through an entire mini-dungeon. Sure, it's small, but it's a dungeon nonetheless, just to get a new item so we can get this book. So yeah, definitely a step up from the previous book that we had to get. And somehow these books managed to get up into the rafters. I don't know if that's Dr. Left's fault, or if these Minish somehow lifted them all the way up, but either way it's impressive. It's just impressive in different ways. So, this helpful little Minish is actually trying to get this book down, because he understands the concept of libraries and knows that this is a book that's overdue. Alright, well, why don't we help him out? Let's just stand here, and the book's definitely wiggling a little faster, but we're not going to get anywhere on that book just standing on there alone. So why don't we try making a clone? And despite the fact that these guys look weightless, they're actually going to add just enough weight to get that book down. Or at least I hope it does, because if it doesn't, well, we're kind of in a pickle, actually. But it works like a charm. That Minish managed to jump out of the way just in time. Good for him. Alright, so now that that's done, we can finally collect that book. So let's just get right to it. Oh man, it's good to be normal-sized again. No extra hearts, unfortunately, so we're gonna have to keep our cat damaged. All of that, and we just drown in a small little patch of water. Good thing water isn't an instant death or anything. That would have been kind of hilarious, actually. But nonetheless, we can finally pick up this book. And I've said finally a lot, haven't I? I should stop doing that. We get it, we've been doing this for a while. But at least we have the second book. So now we're 2/3 of the way done with this. Here you go, now you'll get in less trouble for having a book out. I do. I mean, it's just getting books. That's way too little for a medal, definitely. Alright, so, hit me up. Who's got the last book? Who do I hunt down? A History of Masks? Does the Skull Kid want that? Oh, no, it was Hagen. Well, let's hope he hasn't suplexed that book just yet. So yes, the mayor himself is an overdue library book. So not only is he very lazy, he also keeps overdue books. Hand it over right now. Yes, I know that. I've talked to you before. Give me the book. Yes, you definitely did. You know what? If you're not gonna talk, I'll make you talk. Take that, masks! And you know what? You're probably not gonna talk just yet. So, take that, other masks! What do you think about that, huh? Yeah, and I just killed your masks. Well, that's a hint, but out of context, that's kind of a silly thing to say, because the masks themselves aren't going to tell you anything useful. Of course, when he says that, he means that there is a little Minish hole right behind here. Any of you guys have hints? Creepy Minish brothers that are just standing there watching me? But after the chest is opened, the road to Minish Woods was blocked. You won't be able to get through. When the mayor came back, he no longer had the book. Let me just mark it on your map. All you need to do is give us your soul. Alright, enough of that. So yeah, we saw his lakeside cabin earlier, or at least the path to it. Now, it's on the other side of the lake, and of course, we can't get over there because we can't swim. But there is another path over there, if you'll remember. We saw it when we were going to Syrup's hut, so if you were paying attention, it should be obvious what we need to do now. We need to go all the way to Minish Woods, so, let's just get the ocarina out and see how close we can get. The answer is there's very little we actually need to do on the way there, other than open this chest, which didn't really give me anything useful anyway, so whatever. Anyway, if you'll remember, there's a little dig spot over here, to the right of the cabin. And thank goodness I finally got a hearts. And a green Kinstone piece. That's just what I was looking for. Mysterious shell, not so much. Alright, well, that's enough grass cutting. We should continue on our way to the cabin. Alright, we should also keep an eye out for those mysterious walls. After all, we always want to dig alongside these walls. Just to remind you, those mysterious walls will activate the Goron side quest. So if we see anything, well, speaking of seeing things, get you out of the way. Hate you like. But yeah, you do want to keep an eye out for mysterious walls, because they can be kind of hard to keep track of, so if you miss them, well... Oh, that's an actual like. I mentioned it before, and this will be the last time, but if you get eaten by these guys, they can steal your shield. And indeed, there's a mysterious wall here. See, I told ya. Fuse that, and we got one more Goron to help out. Of course, if you'll remember, we needed 4 Gorons to get through this wall, so this'll help. But it won't be the end of it. Yeah, it's a tough wall, and it's not going to get any less tough even with one more Goron. Now one more Goron after that, that'll be fine. But now, it's not enough. I think it should be obvious they're punching a wall constantly. I mean, really, there's not much else to it other than that. They are just participating in some wall punching, as you do. Alright, well, that's done and over with, and with all those likes dead and buried, or really unburied, they don't deserve burial, we can move on. So now we're on the side of Lake Hylia that we have to be on. And if we go over here, there's a cabin. So we're gonna get the book now, right? And after all, there's not much else around here, so it's gotta be in here. Well, it is. But it's high up. We can't reach the book. But there's a little hint at what we have to do right here. Run headlong into our problem, huh? Well, he doesn't mean just ram into the chimney. Because unfortunately, that's not gonna do a thing. We can, however, ram into this tree. So now we go down a Minish path in order to get there. And I was actually thinking of this Minish path earlier because, if we go down here, there aren't actually enemies. So we got a pretty clear path all the way to the cabin. Which is good because we've been doing this book quest for quite a while now, and I'd really like it to be finished. So easy enough, just gusture your way over here, don't drown, and... Gee, I wonder what we need to do. So, push the shelf right and not left, and push the book off. Now all we need to do is go back to normal size and we can pick the book up. And thank goodness for that, I'm kinda done with this filler. But of course, once we go back through this Minish path, we will actually encounter some pestos who just flew in out of nowhere. Thankfully they're easy to kill, but if you don't expect them, they can catch you off guard and hit you off the lily pad, so do beware of those guys. But once you make it through them, and you should make it through them, they're easy to take out. Not a problem at all at this point. We can pick up a history of masks. So that's all over and done with. And with that, we can go back to the library. I didn't need to get a new item for it, it was just really far away. I had to cover a lot of ground, basically. So now you've recovered the books of power, courage, and wisdom. He's not gonna scream at me, is he? Well, okay then. Well, it took us a while to get those books back, but at least we made someone happy with this filler, so I guess if nothing else, we can say we did that. And now Sturgeon doesn't scream at us, so 2 good things in one day. Alright, with that done, let's turn into a Minish, which we've been doing quite a bit in this part. And we can finally ascend to Elder Librari. Oh, and free rupees. I won't say no to that. I mean, I wasn't expecting to get paid, but whatever. Of course, it would be better if I had a Kinstone I could fuse with you, but suppose you can't have everything. I don't have what I need to fuse with him, I know that already. So let's go to Librari. It's been a long time coming, but we have to figure out how to get to the Temple of Droplets. Ooh, I wish it didn't take so long just to get there of all places, and darn it. And we can't fuse Kinstones with you either. Why don't you have a good Kinstone, like a blue one or a red one? Wait, Jotari? Is that Minish's name Jotari Kujo? Are they a Joestar? Can Minish manifest stands? Okay, well, this doesn't seem like some sort of elaborate trap. Yeah, I'm doing it. Mystery panel? What are you doing with your eyes, dude? Oh! Thanks, jerk. Yes, of course it's your brim. That brim don't lie. Well, anyway, I'm just gonna curse that old man by saying, I don't know, I hope somebody withdraws your library book or something. So thankfully, we can escape here fairly easily, because if we couldn't push those blocks, we'd be trapped forever, and wouldn't that just suck? Oh well, anyway, we've got another mini-dungeon, which looks pretty similar to the other mini-dungeon we were in this episode. This one's slightly different in that there are, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 more puzzles in this one than the other one. Actually, that's kind of giving it a bit too much credit, but whatever. We also get a lot of healing. I wonder if something's going to happen. Indeed, we have a mini-boss with some enemies that aren't necessarily tough, but they're fairly annoying to fight. These guys are called Scissors Beetle, which is a pretty great name. Actually, it sounds like either a stand name or a stand attack. I'd probably say stand attack just because they don't have any sort of naming scheme. I mean, I've never heard of a song called Scissors Beetle, but hey, maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, they defend themselves with their mandibles, and they do actually have a pretty good defense and react to you pretty well, but for some reason they shoot them at you, which, of course, is your opportunity to attack them. So, once you defeat them, we get flippers, meaning we can finally swim, as both Big Link and Minish Link, meaning we can actually go in any type of water no matter what size we are. That is very helpful. Keep one thing in mind, though. We can only resurface at shallow water or through ladders or something like that, so we can't actually go back to that platform, but we can resurface here. But yes, if the water's too deep, you can't actually reach land again, so I'd like to mention that. You can also dive, which usually gets you some pretty important items. Nothing we can do about this ice block over here, though, and I don't know if I'm ever going to be back here. I don't think that's an important item, so there's a 50-50 chance I might not come back for it, just because it's a treasure chest and it's all the way over here, and you never really need to come back here, so not much of a point to it. Thankfully, this is right by the library, so we can just storm in and take our complaints to Elder Librari, because seriously, what was that for? He could have warned us about that. So, what's the big deal, dude? That's all you have to say for yourself? And we still don't have the right Kinstone for that. Ugh. I hope somebody borrows your library book, you dumb jerk. Ah, well, whatever. At the very least, we do have the flippers now, so... So the third dungeon opened up. Quite a bit of stuff to do, and this actually opens up even more stuff we can do. Because swimming actually grants us quite a bit of access to the world. Yeah, I have to admit, while it's annoying that it blocks you off so early on in the game, when it starts opening stuff up, it really opens stuff up, which is pretty nice, so... Of course, next time on The Legend of Zelda the Minish Cap, we go out into the world and explore even more.